to our knowledge, there are no direct sources in marriage counseling or its adherents that are even aware of the most vital agent necessary in the maintenance of health, mental, physical, and spiritual in the married pair. Throughout all nature, there is nothing that is not dependent upon the breath, which is the life of all things. In flowers, trees, the entire world of vegetation, we find the breathing process going on through the leaves or other vital parts corresponding to the lungs in animal life. Even though plants differ from animal life in their use of the elements of air, they do inhale carbon dioxide and exhale oxygen, but the breathing process is alike, essential to plant and animal life, and the great work constantly teaches deep breathing brings health and power to those who diligently practice it. As the Holy Bible tells us, when God created man and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, man was expected to do the breathing for himself from then on to his greatest advantage. The married pair who are not aware of the correct practice of deep breathing are certainly amiss in their efforts to attain an even greater harmony and affectional alchemy in their marriage. This goes for the single young man and woman also. Lack of proper education in this practice is a sad excuse, for with oxygen supplied by nature in extreme abundance for that purpose primarily, there is no need of lung starvation when one is in reach of an outer window or door. However, it is an amazing fact that in spite of this knowledge, thousands of people, women especially, persist in depriving their lung cells, thus impoverishing their bloodstream, laying the insidious foundations of disease by continually recycling foul air during most of their day. Those not aware of the immense value of deep breathing should keep in mind that air is part of our daily food, and by far the most important part, the purity of the blood depending upon it. It must be remembered that those who only half breathe only half live. It is said that with a great deal of truth that those who love deeply are instinctively deep, rapid breathers, and the more the love faculty is rightly exercised, the more healthfully active does the breathing become. As we noted before herein, sex is largely mental, and when the thoughts are organized in those intimate moments with the one you care for, there is a decided acceleration of the breathing, which consequently steps up all physiological functions. This effect, as many will remember, was dramatically portrayed in the early stage plays and screenplays, as it was necessary to keep any fires burning within. So with the Creator, wherein fire constitutes the higher realms of being and ultimate soul development here on earth, those interested in this phase of living can find tremendous amounts of enlightenment in an ordinary book on physiology. They will find that the mechanism of breathing is not complicated and largely governed by the action of the diaphragm. Deep breathing methods are taught by the order, privately to the seeker and student, and cannot be generalized in method or purpose without proper personal guidance of an instructor at headquarters. When deep breathing is properly performed, it becomes a higher form of magnetic breathing, in that the electricity, that vital force with which oxygen is heavily charged, is thus introduced into each individual blood cell, permeating the entire body, every living cell of every vital system, constituting our consciousness. The great work teaches that certain objects charged with electricity are full of magnetism they attract. Therefore, we learn that deep breathing immensely increases the magnetic force or attracting powers, besides promoting a stabilized affectional alchemy, good general health, and true enjoyment of good things in life. The mystic magnetism that Dr. Randolph mentions is that marvelous power which draws to its possessor whatever is desired, and impels men and women to find mutual benefit and happiness in each other's company. Mystic magnetism then is derived from the action of correcting breathing, which vitalized the nerve centers and causes them to become magnetic in a wholesome physical and mental atmosphere. As it was pointed out in the 3 Sevens by Dr. Felon, the solar plexus, you will remember, is the great nerve center from which radiate the personal qualities or magnetic atmosphere of the personality, giving its possessor, when well developed, the power of accomplishing what the will directs. Where this power is never used for a wrong purpose, it is a veritable enchanter's wand to bring health, well-being, and blessings to family and loved ones, as well as to the husband and wife that have learned to wield it. We often hear it is said that a man or woman has accomplished this difficult work or achieved a certain desired end because of a strong, positive personality. This simply means a healthful, vibrant, affectional alchemy based upon a wholesome and healthy sexual potential. Power, true power, can only descend from heaven to true loving souls, because power is feminine and woman represents it, albeit she is practically ignorant of the fact, and a man has yet to learn that the seeds of power descended either through feminine channels of his soul or to him through woman, either by their mothers or by some woman whose love made her will and wish to be good, great, and happy during the sacred prayer of holy, loving wifehood. We find from history and general experience that it is a curious instance of the law of opposites in selection that a remarkably handsome woman rarely marries a man equally fine-looking. This must be due to some secret reason of nature, as we observe that beauty is attracted by strength, mental or physical, strength by beauty. It is also true that mere superficial prettiness is often mistaken for beauty, but after a time a woman of this type is likely to look more faded and plain than perhaps her sister, who is more gifted in mind and spiritual perception, but less so in feature. In a woman, a beautiful spirit and mind can usually be relied on to work out in some degree in beauty of face and grace of manner as the years pass. But how is it with man? Does his mental harmony also work out too in harmonious outline of form and features? This is true to some extent, undoubtedly, but in most cases not so readily as with woman. The reason for this is that man usually thinks more on the objective plane, thus taking his impressions and feelings from reason instead of from intuition. Within man, therefore, this leads to strength rather than beauty, and the stronger the sex forces of the individual, the more evident this rule becomes. As a consequence, we see many a surpassingly beautiful woman who could have had her choice among scores of handsome admirers and suitors, married to a man of irregular, homely features, but endowed with a strong, impressive frame, superb physical powers, and vigorous mental development. The affectional alchemy herein is strong. Such a couple are both well-sexed and well-mated. Through the law of selection, nature seeks to blend the superior strength and superior beauty. No man should therefore despair of winning a charming woman because he is less symmetrical in feature than others who admire and flock around her. His affectional alchemy may be more attractive to her than any one of them. Further, women love reserve power that they sense in a man. Thus we find that strength, moral, mental, and physical power is therefore the first requisite in the ideal man. It is important that his strength should be combined with a sincere consideration for the weak. It is also necessary to win over a woman's admiration. However, we find that every true woman will shrink from coarse exhibitions of savage brute force. A true man will avoid them in her presence by all means. Even though the feminine nature loves reserve power, she will be repelled by a man who will needlessly cause suffering to any fellow creature. It is inherent in a woman's makeup to feel that her loved one could protect her if necessary. Therefore, feats of manly strength in athletic or other games strongly arouse her admiration. In evaluating traits, if there is any one trait that a woman dislikes in a man, it is indecision. Without question, the weak, vacillating, undeciding man is the one who inspires at best a feeling of pity almost akin to contempt. If a man is capable of managing his own affairs, of making his own resolute decisions unaided, then a woman will respect him whether she agrees with him or not. A woman is pleased to have her opinion asked, and her pleasure is that of recognition of a compliment. She regards this request as a chivalrous deference to her wishes on the part of one perfectly able to decide for himself. All the time she is thinking, I know he is better informed than I am on this subject, but it is pleasant to see that he values my thoughts and feelings on the matter. However, with all his chivalry, a man must be truthful in his innermost nature. His compliments, his deference, must come from the depths of a sincere admiration, a sincere wish to promote the happiness and well-being of the woman with whom he is conversing. It must be remembered that the field of affectional alchemy is acutely sensitive, and that to be deceived, even in trifles, is humiliating and exasperating in its effects when once the trick is discovered. These are the indices that must be avoided with everyone, but especially with one's mate, if one wishes to maintain the harmony of affectional alchemy. In the man or woman with a strong affectional alchemy development, we find an indescribable charm and a quiet, unaffected elegance of manner and character. As Dr. Randolph points out, this, like beauty and strength, comes from within, from a well-trained mind, a true refinement, and genuine self-respect, which may be developed just as readily in the farmhouse, factory worker's cottage, or in the executive's estate. The guiding factor in this cultivation of desirable characteristics, which is so needed in all things, is to never depreciate oneself or others, even in thought. This genuine self-respect and respect for others will prove the best of foundations on which the few necessary rules of outward conduct can rest, and it identifies the true gentleman or gentlewoman. A sincere woman cannot find respect for a man who has not, to some extent, this inherent respect for himself. Should there be an unpleasant incident, no husband or lover should imagine that he can win a woman the more readily after a period of indifference on his part. This not only wounds a woman's pride, but it can also repel her. It is no secret that the honest praise and compliments are very dear to the heart of a woman when she knows that they come straight from the innermost soul of one whom she is learning to know as time passes, as apart from all other men. Nothing pleases her more than to find that she is the object uppermost of his thoughts, and the knowledge of his feelings will, if she is a true woman, soon reveal an understanding of her own. The beautiful aura, for lack of a better word, of a home permeated with the rapport of affectional alchemy is truly that home which is to some extent still on a honeymoon. True, the rosy dreams of courtship must have not necessarily a rude awakening, but a mature and healthful awakening. Even though the problems of finances, food, and shelter now occupy an important part of the thoughts of both, it will not be easy, but one can keep up the poetry and charms of life under such circumstances, as has been proven in many a marriage. As we stated earlier, one of the paramount requirements of both husband and wife is the maintenance of vital health, physically and mentally, as this provides the elasticity and versatility to meet the many unsuspected elements of life successfully. As the ideal marriages have shown, it can be done, and by remembering to include lovemaking as an indispensable part of the daily routine of homemaking, marriage can be kept from descending to the purely material plane. Even in the midst of homely surroundings and commonplace tasks, it is highly important that the reader procure a copy of The Gift of Love, that the vital importance of lovemaking is thoroughly understood. Blessed is the thoughtful husband who makes it a habit to include the loving courtesies and the thoughtful attentions that mean so much. Especially are these needed and important to the happiness of the wife, into whose life marriage has brought a greater change than it usually brings to her husband. A man's daily routine away from home will not change much in most cases. The same associations and places as before marriage, but the girl who leaves her parents' home, family, and friends must at best have to adjust to an entirely new life. As a general rule in life, one cannot expect to find many diamonds without a flaw. Therefore, an overcritical husband may possibly be an uncut diamond himself, and until the inherent roughness of personality and character are all polished away, and one's own nature first, it is well to be gentle in the criticism of others. Thus, there may be habits of order, neatness, economy, and industry that need attention on both sides, and if given opportunity, the love and the molding power of a true marriage will accomplish much in smoothing away many of the minor defects, and these too without even pointing them out. True manhood is revealed when the husband finds or already knows that it is better to praise than to blame. A review of paragraph 25 is in order from time to time that a proper understanding of our ups and downs as human beings is not forgotten. One of the deadliest effects on the mutual harmony of affectional alchemy is the unpardonable offense of a blow to vanity. A sneer at defects, personal or mental, has created more wrecked lives among households of life than even ill usage. As a woman realizes, she is too often fed on flatteries by the lover to readily pardon the blunt truths of her husband. It is difficult for her to understand that having once been perfect in his eyes, she should cease to possess perfection. Thus a husband should be aware that his one unpardonable sin is committed when he points out her defects instead of, as before, magnifying her good qualities. Further, nothing is as lethal as habitual scolding or fault-finding on the part of either wife or husband. Nothing is as fatal to the spiritual growth or even the preservation of love as continual nagging and complaining, which some seem to have developed as they would a virtue. The case is not stated too strongly when it is pointed out that the scolding mate is a fool. Thus all these habits are destructive of all that is most precious, and should be carefully regarded against as if one were doing so against the plague. The harmony of affectional alchemy will grow and develop if each should be, if not perfect in the other's eyes, at least on the road to perfection and ultimate soul consciousness. A general rule might be that when failings appear, the less they are noticed the better, and consequently, no gratitude is due to any outsider who searches them out and proclaims them. Time and space do not prevent a thorough presentation of the subject of separation and divorce, as it should be done properly. However, a sincere study of this text and its exceptional presentation of the many facets of love and affectional alchemy reveals that no man or woman sincerely desiring to keep their marriage intact is denied the basic reasons of why his or her particular marriage is not what it should be. Dr. Randolph in paragraph 26 provides a straightforward summary of what can happen as follows. It sometimes, and in this age and country, very frequently happens that one or both of the parties to the marital compact, from a variety of causes, some of which I will state, manage to lose this magnetic attraction towards the other party, and 10 to 1 each will at once conclude that all love between them is wholly lost or dead, when the fact is that each has as quite as much as ever, but the bridge is broken down, that mystic bridge which, resting on the abutments of both souls, spans the gulf of eternity. But although often broken down, this bridge is seldom utterly destroyed. In conclusion, we can only corroborate what has been written in pointing out that in all cases a woman wishes to feel assured that she is first in her husband's affections. Man must understand that money-making ambition to acquire fame, social popularity, all must be secondary and forever remain secondary in his heart and soul, if he would satisfy her. Therefore, it is a man's need of care to avoid weakening the affectional alchemy of their marriage by apparent decrease of interest, as the honeymoon gives place to the workday, when business distracts the mind, but need not distract the heart. The ideal man, according to a woman's heart and mind, is one who is strong, brave, generous, kind, and tender. The ideal man to her is full of reserve power. He has decision of character, is sincere and self-respecting. He will exalt her far above himself, yet does not hesitate too long to express his love for her and his home. To assure herself of this ideal man and future, it is necessary that woman understands her obligation, which is as follows. No woman can be happy in degradation unless the divine element that unites her to her Creator has been totally degenerated. If she still seeks that individuality given by her Creator, becoming the sublime partner in His creation, she must raise herself again to the majestic heights of the sacred mountain of womanhood. When woman recognizes that she is vitally important in the master creation, then will she fulfill the prophecy of the ages. She will have bruised the serpent's head, and she will be enabled to enjoy a degree of happiness heretofore unimagined and unknown, by being her own real self. Womanhood has sadly misvalued her role in the divine scheme of things. She must begin to realize and understand that she too has a spark of the divine essence within her which can be fanned into a flaming soul. Womanhood must recognize that they are crucibles of divine alchemy, that it is within her particular role as an alchemist to produce the refinement of mankind through her special efforts, raising man to his greatest heights yet imagined. As the mold and molder of all future mankind, she must realize the divine potency for what it is, that her daughters too will inherit her sublime role. She must forever abandon the desire to compete with man's lust in life, recognizing that this competition only leads both to eternal destruction, hurling both in the dark abyss of civilizations long gone and now but faint memories. When she begins to realize her power as a woman, constructively under divine purpose, she will burst the chains of ignorance and unchain the potentials within herself for peace, happiness, and advancement, once and for all time. This will be her ideal manifested. Those reading Dr. Randolph's writings for the first time must become aware of his purpose and direction in dealing with the many infringements and violations of divine law. We must remember, therefore, in reading his text, that if one's continuing cycle of life may be destroyed in this life because wrongly directing a desire or effort and paying the price now, this loss under divine law may be retrieved and restored in the next time around. The complete destruction of any spiritual quality can only be destroyed by deliberate intent. We must be wise and beware of falling into the position of using this understanding for an excuse deliberately, or giving vent to our base carnal desires that we did not really intend, as Dr. Clymer pointed out in the closing paragraph to his introduction. The world generally may not yet be ready to accept and apply Randolph's instructions because, though the spirit is willing, the flesh is weak. He necessarily demands a high standard in man's relationship with woman as regards creative activity. But our philosophers and physicians more and more lean towards Randolph's definition of love and what is just to it. And in the good time coming, the mysteries may yet be enacted in the family life. Then will the human family be normal, healthy, and happy. The mysteries are based on God in the creative act. In this manner will we come to know in time the immortality of love.